A clapper. Strange 1980s trends we thought were totally normal.
Lamp into a futuristic gadget. 2 years later, waterbeds made up roughly 1 out of every 5 mattress sales in America. And in millions of...
I remember the water... Wait, the clapper.
In 1985...
Wait, that's... And then your light turns on?
The clapper turned a simple lamp into a futuristic...
Why is that? That's cool. That should come back. That is like a thing today, right? In like rich houses.
Gadget. 2 years later,
Alexa,
waterbeds made up roughly
lights.
1 out of every 5 mattress sales in America. And in millions of homes, popcorn ceilings were still being sprayed overhead because they were cheap.
Bro, we had those. Those are like the ugliest. Not even ugly, but it's like popcorn walls too. You just touch the wall, it all falls apart.
Fast and hid
But honestly, used to just like scrape them because it was like satisfying. Just scrape off the popcorn and see the little flat parts.
flaws well. That was the 1980s. If something felt modern, practical, or a little over the top, it quickly became part of the home. Here are the weirdest trends.
There's a huge problem with having fabric on your toilet seat.
That was the 1980s.
What did it not?
If something felt modern,
Did they not peep that?
practical, or a little over the top, it quickly
Ain't no man in the world that
became part of the home. Here are the
like you just never get it on the edge.
weirdest trends that took over American homes in the 1980s.
It does look super aesthetic though, the fuzzy toilet. Not
The
a great
human
idea.
back. Its underlying muscle structure creates a surface of complex curves and contours.
Bro, he got a nice
and to
back.
conform, a sleeping surface has to adapt to that unique design. No other bed can do that as well as a
That's hilarious. They got the most ripped guy they could
Big
find.
Sur waterbed. Right now, the
By 1980,
Get our waterbed, you'll look like this. 169. That'd probably be the equivalent of 800.
7. Waterbeds made up roughly 22% of all mattress sales in America, which still sounds unbelievable
22%. So 1 in 5 beds were waterbeds. I've always wanted a waterbed. It looks super cool.
now. Just seeing one
And comfy.
made it feel like the future had landed in somebody's bedroom. But once a full-size waterbed was filled, it could weigh around 1,600 pounds. So once it was in place, it was staying
Holy I did not think about that. How are you going to drain that?
there. You needed a heater
And you couldn't really move it.
because sleeping on cold water was miserable. And if that vinyl ever got punctured,
Wait, it would be cold.
you were not dealing with a bed anymore. You were dealing with a flood. In a lot of homes, especially over that floral living room couch, plastic covers were just part of the setup. The whole point was to protect the good furniture,
Protect it from your waterbed?
especially in houses where that sofa was supposed to last for years. But sitting on it was another matter entirely. Every little move came with that squeaky sound. And in the summer, your legs could stick to it before long. A lot of us could probably still walk into mom's or grandma's house and find one there today.
I've never seen this.
You have 11 new messages.
All right.
By the end of the 1980s, roughly 3 out of every 5 American homes had a standalone answering machine sitting next to the phone. The machine
An answering machine. Yeah, what does it give? Does it give you answers to the? What does it give you
itself was simple.
to answer calls? An answer.
What made it memorable was the outgoing greeting. Families recorded songs, jokes, sound effects, and little comedy routines that were funny once and then played for every caller for the next 6 months. Sometimes the greeting ran so long
Oh, what the? Oh, voicemail. So it was a giant machine that plugs into an outlet separately that was specifically used just to add a voicemail whenever someone calls your phone. That is oh wait, I think it's plugged into the telephone. Either way, that's insane. A whole separate machine, because I guess the audio recording, you needed to put the little cassette tapes in there.
families recorded songs,
Holy.
jokes,
Holy moly, that's all this was? That's all this machine did, was to play one little voicemail. Hello, Andrea.
sound effects,
I'm not at the phone right now, but if you call back later, maybe I'll answer. Have a good day. That's all this was for?
and little comedy routines that were funny once and then played for every caller for the next 6 months.
Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street guy, gave some solid advice that I've been using ever since. He's like, if you want to sound wealthy, or if you don't want people to bother you, when you put on your voicemail, you're like, hey, I'm just out of town for a couple weeks on a business trip. I'll call you back when I can. Then they will never call you back. And it's like, oh, it's kind of genius.
Sometimes the greeting ran so long, you almost
Or then be like, I'll bet. No, he said, and then I'll get back to you in a week or two. And then they'll just forget or never call you back because that's like too long.
forgot why you called in the first place. That little beep was not just a signal. It was the start of a performance. Before you even sat down in some 1980s bathrooms, you had to deal with a fuzzy toilet lid cover that never wanted to stay up. These
Okay, yeah, that does not sound like a good idea. I get the top. The top could be cool.
shaggy sets came with a lid cover and a matching rug around the toilet. Exactly the kind of coordinated bathroom set Sears loved to sell. They were supposed to make the room feel soft, warm, and pulled together. But all that thick fabric was sitting in the one room in the house with the most moisture. Cozy was one word for it. Clean was another matter.
Clap on, clap off, clap on, clap
That's a great
off.
idea.
The clapper.
The clapper was supposed to be the future of home automation, and when it came out in 1985, it really felt that way. The first time we saw somebody clap their hands and the lamp came on, it looked like pure magic. 2 claps turned on one device, 3 claps controlled another, and that clap on, clap off jingle got stuck in everybody's head.
Wait, this needs to come back. I could just clap my TV on.
Of course, real life was less elegant. A dog barked, a door slammed, or the TV got loud, and suddenly the living room was making decisions on its own. Builders loved popcorn
Oh, okay. So it's like it just couldn't detect claps. It's just any noise.
ceilings because they were cheap, fast, and great at hiding every little flaw in the drywall underneath. They also absorbed sound, which made them seem even more practical. So
Okay, it looks worse than the drywall underneath, though. I'd
in the
rather just have the
80s,
drywall.
they were everywhere. But they also trapped dust, grease, smoke, and all kinds of grime nobody talked about. And anybody who has ever tried scraping one off knows that what looked harmless overhead turned into
Wait, that's a good point. They do be trapping grease. If you got popcorn ceilings in the kitchen, it just gets so
the
grease
messiest jobs
monster.
in the house. The Chia Pet showed up in 1982, and somehow a clay
I had a couple of those.
animal covered in sprouts became one of the strangest gifts in America.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that
But this never went away, though. They have Ice Spice Chia Pets today. We still have Chia Pets. I think there was a Jack Harlow Chia Pet.
grows. It's fun and
I know there's an
You
Ice Spice
soaked
one,
it,
though.
smeared on the chia seeds, set it in a sunny window, and waited. Over the next week or two, it started growing what was supposed to look like fur or hair. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes one side flourished while the other side looked half bald. But that did not matter. Those little
Ice Spice Chia
Ice
Pet
Spice Chia
update. Drown bitch. D30. It's puberty spice. She's got all that facial hair growing in different directions. She's giving final stage of metamorphosis. Wait, she's balding. Her hair said
Looks
Control Alt Delete. D31. It's a Christmas spices crisis. It's the hoe with a bow. It's ho 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 spice. Take my money, bitch. Day 32. It's jungle spice. It's giving deforestation. It's cloudy with a chance of hair. Miss Abraham Lincoln better grow. Day 33.
creatures ended up
Chia Pet should use that video as their new advertisement.
on kitchen counters and windowsills all over the country. The Flowbee was one of those inventions that sounded like a joke until you realized people really bought it. Patented in 1987 and pushed hard in 1988 infomercials, it hooked up to a vacuum cleaner and promised a neat haircut at home. The suction pulled the hair in while the blades
That cuts your hair? I thought it was like texturing it. Like it was just blowing it out to, you know how to get like the TikTok boy texture? Wait, that was a blade in it?
trimmed it, and somehow that was supposed to replace a barber. Reviewers
Okay, if you use that on your head, you're stupid.
compared the
Like,
sound
oh
to
my
standing
God.
inside an airplane hangar, which tells you a lot. And yet, by 2000, Around 2 million units
I would low-key buy one, though. I feel like that'd be easy. Like, especially for my hair, I got longer hair. If I could just pull out a Flowbee. I gotta try to get my hands on a Flowbee for a video. I'll cut my... If one of you guys have a Flowbee, let me know and send it to me, and I will do a full haircut with a Flowbee in 2026.
had been shipped,
Screenshot
and George
that.
Clooney still insists he has been using one for decades. Vertical blinds could
Hey,
be
if it
found on
works.
big windows all over
If it works. why
America,
not?
and not one set ever seemed to work perfectly. Those
love
long
those.
plastic slats hung from a
No, I actually love those, though.
track, turning with a wand or opening with a pull
so
chain,
pretty.
at least in theory. In real life, one slat was always crooked, the track jammed, and brushing past them meant hearing that familiar plastic clatter. Even when they were brand new, they looked one step away from falling apart. Glass block
so pretty,
walls
though.
started showing up everywhere in the 80s, especially in bathrooms, entryways, and room
Those are pretty, too, depending on how they're done. They can be.
dividers. Those thick translucent blocks let light through while still giving a little privacy, which made them feel modern and a little fancy. Builders loved to sell them as a Miami Art Deco touch. In practice, everything behind them looked blurred and underwater. For about $12, the bedazzler could turn a plain pair of
Yes, I remember this. This was actually...
jeans into something that looked
Bedazzler.
ready for the 80s. It was Ronco's rhinestone and stud setter, and the idea was simple: line it up, squeeze, and hope for the best.
I
The
always
problem
wanted one.
was, every mistake was permanent too. The infomercials showed neat little patterns, but real life usually meant crooked studs, snagged fabric, and more sparkle than anyone planned. If something in the house could be coated in brass, the 1980s usually found a way to do it. Snagged fabric, and
You know what's weird with the bedazzler, though? Is like it was really just a toy. Like it wasn't meant to actually bedazzle and embroider stones onto your clothing. It was more like a kid's toy, right? But I think it kind of became a little bit bigger than that. And it's like, which is just weird. It's like you could actually make a... I bet you could actually make a device that does this well.
more sparkle than anyone planned.
Because that was like a toy. That was like $30, right? Like, why would you expect to embroider your clothes with diamonds perfectly for $30? It was probably cheaper than that because it was back in the 90s or in the 80s. But like, you could probably get a real something to do that.
If something in the house
bad
could be
idea.
coated in brass, the 1980s usually found a way to do it. Faucets, lamps, cabinet pulls, towel racks, all of it got that warm gold finish. It was meant to make a home feel a little more upscale, and for a while, it did. The problem was that brass showed fingerprints fast and tarnished just as quickly. Keeping it shiny became its own chore. Ginsu knives were one of the great infomercial success stories of the era, and the funny part is, they were not even Japanese. They were made in Ohio and given a name that simply sounded exotic enough to sell. The commercials were unforgettable, slicing through cans, shoes, and hoses,
Was this like the OG Damascus knives?
then turning around and cutting a tomato paper thin.
In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. But this method doesn't work with a tomato. That's why we use the Ginsu.
That drama moved an estimated $75 million worth of knives. In a regular kitchen, they were fine, especially for bread or tomatoes. But the real genius was not the blade, it was the marketing. Mood rings felt like they were reading your soul, even though all they were really doing was reacting to temperature.
The temperature. I remember when I figured this out as a kid, I had a couple mood rings. I was so disappointed. Like, I just put it in the freezer. I'm like, there's no way that's real. They're like, yeah, just watch, try it. And I put it in the freezer. It changed color. And I'm like, oh my God.
That did not stop us from staring down at our hand
I've been skeptical about anything ever since.
all day, waiting for
Always
the
second
color to
guessing.
change and trying to remember what
Looking
each
over my
shade
shoulder.
was supposed to mean. Calm, nervous, romantic, mysterious. The ring always seemed to know more than it actually.
You think, is there something to that, though? Maybe, like, about the temperature, like, oh, if your temperature goes up or down, maybe it means, like, if you're sad, your temperature goes up, or if you're happy, it goes down.
Did. That little shift in color was enough to make the whole thing feel almost magical. And for a while, That was more than enough. By the mid-1980s, a narrow strip of wallpaper near the ceiling somehow became the finishing touch every room needed. Kitchens
I've never seen that either.
got fruit, bathrooms got seashells, nurseries got teddy bears,
Oh,
and
no, I have
living
seen
rooms got ivy.
I thought he meant leaving a strip dangling.
It was meant to add a little personality without covering the whole wall. In 1985, Worlds of Wonder released Teddy Ruxpin, and for kids it felt like the future of toys had arrived. You put a
I don't know what that is, but there's an Asher Roth song where he talks about that. Me and Teddy Ruxpin stirring up a ruckus.
cassette into his back, pressed play, and his mouth and eyes moved along with the story. In theory, it was amazing. In practice, the timing could drift, the blinking could get strange, and when the batteries ran low, that friendly voice could slow down into something straight out of a nightmare. The Bear sold about 5 million units in its first 2 years, which means a whole lot of
The OG talk, Tickle Me Elmo.
American kids had one sitting in the room with them after dark. That was the magic of the 1980s.
Dude, I need a Fluby. I need
So
a
many of
Fluby.
these trends were impractical, over-designed, or just plain ridiculous, but at the time, they felt completely normal. And that is exactly why we still remember them.
Damn, I'm on my Britney shit. Oops, I hit again.